My scholars, I'd like to again officially welcome you all back as I did preceding pressing record here, and to MCM 333 Business Communications here at Menlo College with Dr. Josiah. And we have a very special guest lecture here on March 4th, 2021. A woman who my wife and myself had the honor of meeting a couple years back at this point, and having Rukshana on our podcast and doing work with her in other capacities as well, and finding inspiration in what she does. It's an honor to bring you Rukshana Hafez-Triem. And you could see Rukshana up there. Now she's in the corner, the top corner in my screen. So I'm not sure where she is on your screen, though she has a title right there as well, Rukshana Triem. Uh, and if we could, my scholars, perhaps give a little welcome to Rukshana. If you have any emojis out there you want to throw out, or a little couple little snaps or so. Thank you all. Thank you all. Just Rukshan, I've mentioned this. I have some of the most brilliant minds around the planet here, and this is not a cliche. I have worked with these students in particular for the past 7 weeks going on. Read papers of theirs, watched presentations, going to watch bigger presentations unfold now, coming up with midterms. So I just think that this is a perfect fit to have somebody of your caliber here with us. Uh, Rukshana, first off, I want to welcome you formally and thank you for your time, for your wisdom and knowledge that you'll impart to these classes at business for business communications at Menlo College in the heart of Silicon Valley, and been with this program since September 2014, and it's one I have a great. A great love for, a great connection to. So this is very, very special. Rukshana, if I could, I'd like to give a brief introduction of who you are. And I know I've mentioned this in previous classes. Rukshana is the CEO of Women's Lifestyle Coaching, as well as founder of the Firmino Foundation. She is an individual who has a life story that I believe can be a dose of inspiration when you recognize what hard work does, what belief in your vision does, and what relentless work ethic does. Uh, and I have a bunch of questions that are going to delve into the depths of what brought Rukshana to be who she is today in the world of business, education, as well as coaching and modeling best ways to live most healthy, most not prosperously in terms of monetary gain, but feeling fulfilled. Incredible work you do, Rukshana. Rukshana, please let me know if I missed anything there. And I'd like to give you the microphone for a moment. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's just an honor. I woke up this morning and I was so jazzed, and I have been running nonstop. And I feel like I'm on this rush. I just drank like a whole bunch of sodas and Coke, and I'm just like running. So I'm just so honored that you are all here. I do believe you are the future. You are the future investments of the world, and I do believe that with my whole heart. And so
Yes.
again, grateful to be here to for you guys to listen to me what I have to say. And I do want to say this, that you all have a story, and your story is much as important to the world as each of our story is. So as I share my story, I want you to know that your story is also very important, and we have this aspect to design the story that we want, the life that we want, the cultures that we want to create, the friendship that we want. So we have the power to create that. And you are in the perfect place right now with the perfect teacher in the perfect environment. And the future is unlimited. I mean, it's just beyond, and you have the power through all this beautiful mind and this beautiful heart. So I'm so grateful that you made the time to listen to me today. I'm so so grateful. Thank you.
Rukshana, I concur with everything you just made the point of. Again, the reason we feel so lucky to know you, so humble, and you have accomplished so much, and you are so just cool and mellow about it all. And it's thank you for being you as a businesswoman in 2021. Just incredible work you do. So what I'd like to do is go a bit into uh, where it all started, if I could, Rakshana. And I have all these questions outlined. I've sent you a couple. Um, so this one deals with what's going on. Yeah, in a couple weeks, you're heading over to Africa, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Really excited to talk about that. But can you explain your early life a bit for everybody? So they have an understanding of, the context of, when I make the point, she's somebody who has worked incredibly hard and persevered. So they understand that what that fully means. And, what was happening in your life early on?
Absolutely. So one of the things I'm very grateful for is to be here in the United States. I was a former refugee from Mozambique. So I was born and left the country of Mozambique due to the war, and we lived in Malawi in the village. So you know those huts that you see in the Discovery Channel with the grass on the top and it's made out of clay. We lived there for 5 years and adapting to the culture and learning the language. Because of the war, we fled our country. And then my family decided that they wanted to leave the country of Malawi and go to Zambia. And Zambia is just the neighboring country. And there we fled into, we walked like hiking, we call it hiking, but we walked mountain ranges to arrive into Lusaka, Zambia, where we arrived in the refugee camp, where we resided there with my family at that time of seven for 5 years in the refugee camp. So, what really, really made me who I am today is living in that life in the refugee camp. So, living in the life, the refugee camp as an older child, my job was to wait for food in line. And sometimes I would wake up really early and you could feel the sun peel your skin because it's so hot, like 109 degrees or so. You could feel the soda can kind of melt. That's how hot it is. That waiting for the sun. And sometimes I'll be at that 10-year-old. I wouldn't make it to the beginning of the line to get food because I was that 10-year-old that was playing. My family would be will be doomed because they wouldn't have food for that night. And so, from there, I learned how to shove and push and cut in between the line, whatever you call the skills we have today, the hustle and the work hard, those are my skills that I learned as a 10-year-old, and to cut and shove in between the line so that way I can make it to the beginning of the line so that my family could eat. And sometimes I would forget, I would be like playing like a 10-year-old and I would be lost in translation. What happened is that I wouldn't have food for the family. And over the time I would get to the beginning of the line, there was no more food. And we're talking about food. It would be just boiled beans, and it was just beans that was sitting in the warehouse that was donated from United States or England, and that would sit in this warehouse for months and years, and the bugs would eat them, and they would just put them in a big pot and they would boil them and scoop it up and then put it. You'd be waiting with your bowl there, and you would take it to the tent. That's where we lived, in the tent. People go camping in the tent, and then recook it and put some spices and make it valuable to eat with flavors and stuff. And that's how I fed my family. So it wasn't until 1992, my family applied for asylum to come to United States. And I'm very grateful for that. And I came to United States, I was 15 and a half, almost 16. So that's where I took an opportunity for education. Education is such a big thing in Africa. Education is so expensive. You cannot afford to go to education. Only the rich people, only people who have money can go to school. So going back in Zambia, when I was living in the refugee camp, there was a family who had sponsored for us to go to school. So one of the examples of walking to school for 3 miles or sometimes 5 miles to learn, to learn Arabic or to learn English, was such a big thing. So coming to America, going to school was like a gift. They'll give you this amazing food and all this stuff. So, but going back also, when I was in Malawi, when I left the country, it was about 5 years. So I learned how to write, and how to write we learned under a mango tree, because this village where I lived, they didn't have a classroom. So the classroom was under a mango tree. So we would smooth out the ground like a sand and then practice my letters. And that's how I learned how to write my name under a mango tree. And you know what? This is still happening until today. There's a few villages in Africa, in Mozambique, in Malawi, where there is no classroom, enough space for students to learn. So students learn under a mango tree. They learn their math, the equation, everything is happening under a mango tree. And it all happens by smoothing the ground and learning how to write and learning how to read and all these math, arithmetic stuff under the mango tree. So that's a little bit, that's what shaped me for who I am today.
That's Rukshana. First off, thank you so much for sharing all of that information. And just a time period. What around what years was that? All was this all occurring? The microphone is muted. Sorry,
Sorry,
Rukshana.
sorry. There
Sorry.
we go. So, when we left the country of war, it was starting in 1985 until the war was then to 1992. And I don't think, based on everything when it was passed, they had asked the people to come back. And after that time, there was so many millions of people had fled out of the country, and they had left. They never went back. So the war was over until later in 1992.
Rukshana, thank you for sharing all of that. And I wanted everybody to know that because that is a huge aspect of what when we consider somebody to have worked hard and have persevered. That story is one that it brings forth an incredible dose of inspiration to me, and I say to myself, it's just absolutely brilliant work you are doing right now, and that's why this is so important, the context of where you've come from, because you've founded the Firmino Foundation. So for everybody, Rukshana, what is the Firmina Foundation?
Absolutely. So the Firmino Foundation is a foundation that was established, recently in honor of my grandmother Firmina. So I would go visit her every year and would sit under a mango tree, and we'll have a cup of tea in a hot Sunday. I don't know why the Africans drink hot tea in a hot Sunday. And then my grandmother was pointing across the street where the children were lining up to go to classroom, and then the kids would sing the national anthem, because that's a very common thing when the kids are in school, elementary school, high school. They'll sing the national anthem, and then and then the principal will release them to class, and then half of the children will go into the classroom, and then half of the students will go under the mango tree and learning under the mango tree. And my grandmother pointed at me. She's like, you should be the one making the change. So what happens is, if the environment, you go back and you came from that environment, your mindset just goes back, because that's the normal. You don't realize that in America, children don't learn under a mango tree. We have classrooms. So when my grandmother said, you should build a school, you should come over here and build a school, and I said, Grandma, maybe one day when I become rich, when I win a lottery. And then my grandmother said, if not you, then who? And then she said, if not now, then when? And it wasn't until later on those words, I started dreaming about them. They'll come into different contact with people, conversation will come, those words would drop into. So it wasn't until 2018 I had the guts and the courage to go ahead and go back to the country that I came from, Mozambique, the country that I left due to the war, in 19 early in late in 80s, to go back and hopefully to build what I was hoping to build. So we chose this village specifically. We are working with 3 countries, but we chose this first village, Mozambique, because that's the country I came from. And this village serves about 3,500 students. And some of these students walk about 8 miles a day to come to school. So
Wow.
half of the classroom is served inside the broken structure, doesn't have a roof. And then half of the classroom, guess where it's at? Under
Under
the
the
mango
mango tree.
tree.
Under the mango tree. This is blowing
So
my mind.
we
Blowing my mind.
decided,
Yeah.
and when I took the group there, I didn't want to go alone because I believe that if you're scared, take people with you. So that's even much better. So I invited a whole bunch of business women to go with me, a bunch of my friends who spent time hiking with me. So I took the first group was of 14 people. We all went together, established, took assessment and see what we could do, and then we asked the community, we asked the village, we asked the elders, we asked the chief, and I had to go through these different stages. And so, now we have a structure, a school in Mozambique, in a small village called Tengwa, which serves about 350 students. They don't have to learn under a mango tree. They have a structure. And for anybody who has traveled mostly to a tropical land in Mozambique, it rains a lot. So, when it rains, it's not very comfortable to learn under a mango tree. So that's how Firmino Foundation started. We just finished our first project with the first school. Our next project is going to be in Malawi, which is the country we left from Mozambique to Malawi because that became a gift. And then our third country is going to be in Zambia, which is our last country that I had left before I came to United States. So that's the goal. And that's the goal of Firmina Foundation, is empowering children through education and giving them hope, and hopefully that we can empower the future, because that's why I believe the education, you guys are the future of our country, you are the future of the economy, you are the future of the hope we want to see in the world.
Rukshana, yes, yes, and more, yes. Absolutely brilliant. So, where it all started for you is where you are now creating, and where you had to leave due to war is where you are now creating these structures for these schools for these children so they can not have to learn under the mango tree per se. And I think that's absolutely just brilliant what you're doing. And in a couple weeks, you're heading out there. What's going on in a couple weeks?
In a couple weeks, oh my goodness, we are celebrating. The school has been accomplished since last year, and due to COVID, the kids have not been going to school. They've been staying home. So we're gonna go finish and celebrate our school opening, and also the desk. We just finally built the desks. We're gonna be finishing the desk. So I'm gonna be celebrating with them the school opening and the desk and all this big coming, and just celebrating. Really, that's what we're doing. And also, I'm working with a few small business owners, and helping these young kids who are in becoming entrepreneurship, and doing some trade work, and what is it called, exchanging services with one world to the other, and hopefully to sell their services and their product to United States, so that way they can make the economy better and expand their community.
Uh, we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Oh, yes. Very cool. Very, very cool. And Rakshana, I mean, for everybody that's here with us right now, thank you so much for making that point, because I make that point to these brilliant students as well, that they're leaders of this society. Yes, I can guide them through material and business communications, though I learn from them every time I'm with them. As hopefully I can guide them through ideas of the course after teaching it so many years and having all these classes and things, experiences with this, and for them to hear that they are the future. I think it's so important that they recognize that. And my scholars, listen, Rukshana is somebody who you can stay connected to, as I mentioned. And I had a chat come up here. Uh, and don't worry, I saw a couple chats to me about internet issues. Don't worry. I totally understand everybody, not a worry. Um, is it possible to volunteer for Fermina? Got a question coming out over to me. Is it possible for people to volunteer for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come along. We took our first volunteers were in 14 people came with us. Our last year's trip was canceled. We're always looking for volunteer. As long as you could pay your ticket to Mozambique, and it's a great experience. There's a lot of doing nothing because the phones doesn't work there, the internet doesn't work there. You're totally disconnected. You're literally sitting under on a campfire and making popcorn and hanging out with the locals and dancing around the campfire. So that is the only thing to do there. Is telling stories to the elders, and elders are telling stories. So it's totally
That's
disconnected.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's very disconnected, and you have to be prepared for that quietness. If we're so used to the world of business with our text messages and computer world, it's
Yes.
really intimate connection to different people. Yeah. So the,
Roxana,
the question
sorry.
to that is yes.
Yeah, 100%. So again, later on when we finalize later on with the lecture, we'll get all the contact info and so everybody can connect with Ruxana. And I'll of course post it up on the message boards for Mole is the Menlo online learning environment, the Menlo College one, Rukshana. So that's what I post all of my videos to the message boards for the students. So I'll also post the contact info for Rukshana so that you can all of her again. You could find her right now on social media, but I'll find I suppose an email. What's best for people to
I
contact
think
you at?
whichever it's, I mean, I'm all social media platform through Firmino Foundation. We have a social media platform as well on Instagram and on Facebook. We other, you can look up my name. I have I'm on also Facebook. So whichever it is, I think they all funnel back into my email.
Awesome, awesome, and you have a lot of people that love you on your social media. You have a lot of people that give you such nice messages, and you post incredible, inspirational ideas all over your social media. So I can vouch for Rukshana. Feel free to follow her. She's awesome. Truly, truly. So, Rukshana, an interesting aspect about talking about now you're going to Mozambique this trip.
Yes, so I'm going to Mozambique this trip, and then after that, I'm going to the next country, which is Malawi, to assess the next project. I'm meeting some local people and some nonprofits, the people who are on base, and looking at the next project. We're working on school for disabilities, because children who have disability like cerebral palsy cannot go to school. So figure out a system we can create a classroom, or maybe we could do fundraisers to get wheelchairs or build wheelchairs, so that way we can get the kids to school. Because like most rural areas and villages is they don't have accessible for wheelchair. It's all bumpy, ruggedy road, kind of like
Yeah,
when you go camping. So figuring out, so I'm going to be doing a lot of assessment, observing, meeting the locals, and figuring, putting a plan together for our next project in Malawi.
absolutely brilliant, brilliant stuff. Goodness gracious, and you know. i- That's an interesting piece you talk about with the quietness, the ridding of technology and devices. We have a hand up actually. Matt, did you have a hand up? I apologize. The little
Oh.
icon I think popped on up there. Sorry, man. And though at the end of the lecture, definitely we could open up to questions and comments. Sorry, Matt. Sorry about that. It shows the little emoji icon popping on up. There it goes. Cool. uh, you know, thinking about that idea of like, the differences, the diversity, the cultural diversity, the brilliance in cultural diversity. The question is this: how? And I've posed this question to each of these students also in what I call a 5 minute quick write out. It's a question I'll pose at the beginning of class, and the students will, analyze it. And the conversations are incredible, Rukshan. Actually, we get into it's just incredible stuff. So this is the question: how has appreciating cultural diversity strengthened your business relationships and just in general the way you communicate?
I think I have always appreciated the differences of how weird I am, because I don't fit in a box. And every time I talk to an individual and I realize that they don't fit in my box. And so they're also weird in their own little way. So having that, having understanding, coming from Mozambique, which is my background, you could see I'm an Indian. So a lot of a family from had migrated to India, from India to Mozambique. So my two grandparents are black. So, culture is not really expressed in my culture. It wasn't until I came to America I had to appreciate and kind of cultivate what the culture that I wanted to create. But through the whole process of growing up, because I am an American now, I'm also an African because I belong to those three countries. I can't say I'm Mozambican or Malawian or Zambian, but I have got to appreciate from all those three countries that I lived, and also being an American, I have so much richness in me. Like I have all these diversity from different countries, different languages that I speak, and the ethnic background that my grandparents came from India. I have so much an appreciation for that, that when I work with taking groups with people with me to Africa, that's where I come in. I said, come in. I tell them, I said, come in with a curious mind, because all these groups of people, when I take with them in Africa, they're just as much as curious about the Americans as the Americans are curious about the Africans. So what I'm doing there is I'm doing an exchange of culture. So I know it's different how I everybody sees it, and I'm just saying we're both curious human beings. The villagers want to know how it's America's like, how they live, how the lifestyle is, how women are so independent and strong. The Africans want to know that, and then the Americans also want to know how do they walk for miles to school and carry water on their head and carry a log of wood on their head and carry a baby on the back. So I feel like culture has always been curiosity, as long as we stay in the curious and we ask questions, because asking questions is nothing wrong. We just want to learn. And the more we learn, the more we take our biases, our own biases, the more we open the doors of culture and learning from one another. And the only way we do it is through curiosity, through asking.
Again, I couldn't concur more with you, Rukshana. And you had some emoji pillows coming your way from that, and some nice little messages on the chat saying people feel the same way. This is why, again, love. We love speaking with you, Rukshana. It's every time I get the opportunity to connect with you, it's an absolute honor, because those are ideas that, quite frankly, unite people. These are ideas that, in the world of communication and business, this creates. I believe strong business relationships, as that's what I've seen in my experience. And that's what you're echoing as well. And I think it's important that people keep that sense of wonder, that sense of questioning. Some would call it, I believe you would call it, play, discovery. I think it's so important. And it's, there's quotes that I could spout right now, but I will not do that, because I know that would, I don't want to digress too far. But I just want to say, eloquently put, and in terms of that aspect, right now, we just wrapped up a chapter, a section in listening. We actually, the students brought in lines from songs, and it was really cool. I mean, so many new groups I got put on to, so many cool songs I've never heard before. Some I have heard now. It was really nice to hear them again. So, and we do a nice listening piece with music I share when we analyze lyrics. But question is actually, Rukshana, and I know I sent you a couple questions. I might be a little out of order the way I'm going to be asking them. But how do strong listening skills tie into your success as a businesswoman? The way you listen, and if there's any techniques, or what that means to you at all, that question. How do strong listening skills tie into your success as a incredible businesswoman?
I It's huge. Listening is it's like an opportunity. Like when you see that window, you're like, oh, people say, so I lead women business retreats out in nature, backpacking and stuff like that. So people started asking me, is that hard to go to Africa? Is it complicated to go to Africa? So in my mind as a businesswoman, I'm thinking, I'm listening, but I'm thinking opportunity, and always taking that opportunity. Now the plan is, how am I going to take that opportunity and turn it into a business opportunity, or how I'm going to take that opportunity and turn it into a package or whatever. So listening is all part of business building. Is you're listening to you're listening to your clients, you're listening to the mass production, you're listening to your social media. You put out a question, a yes or no. You're just getting surveys. You're just getting analyzing, you're just collecting all this data so you can create whatever it is as a product. And it's a huge part of your success, and I do coaching and I have different products, so I'm always asking questions. So when you see a question on Facebook or Instagram, people think that it's a question. I'm getting information. I'm asking for information, and I want to get information and see how many people are interested, and see if that's a good survey, good product for me to put it out for the masses, and who is my target audience. So
That's right.
listening is a big part of creating a business and running, creating a product, whatever it is. Yeah.
Collecting that data. We just did a project in class, and one of the roles was data collector, Rukshana. And exactly what you just mentioned is what I described to everybody. I think everybody could concur on their side. They probably remember saying it. I tried to give the roles a couple times, and I think I did a good job expressing exactly what you said. Trying to find
Mm-hmm.
how you tap into public consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
how you're able to get into the community's thought process,
Yeah.
and through understanding that,
Yeah.
there's a technique within the way we communicate too. So let me first ask this. Going into, let me flip over my questions here. Yeah, what are, this is question number 5. What are one or two strategies that you've used to get your businesses into public consciousness?
That's a great question. What are my two business strategies to get into public consciousness? First is, and I know listening to that, and then to be able to create the product and then putting it out there, and also realizing, I think this next step is realizing what am I good at and what I suck at. So, realizing what I'm good at and focusing on all the energy what I'm good at. I'm good at networking. I'm good at reaching out to people. I'm good at that. And what am I not good at? Putting those products together, getting the wording out, getting the exact wording out. So hiring other resources, other businesses to create that. So I had to learn that the hard way. The first 2 years of my business, I did it all by myself, and English is like my third, fourth language. So it was hard writing all that product into detailed. And that's not my strength. I'm not the detailed strength person. That's not my strength. And now in my years in my business, and now I have somebody who writes the product and who analyzes it and puts the keywords, so that way when they put it on Google or when they put it on social media, when somebody's searching it as it is SEO, they can find those words. So, and also letting go that part when when you find like, this doesn't give me doesn't thrive, it doesn't give me joy. I don't like it. I like the things I want to focus more, and it takes a lot of energy and time, because then you are able to focus on the things you're good at and put more energy into it, and then hiring other people who are good at something else.
And I think this speaks, and Rakshana, thank you for that. I hope that gives everybody, because they're writing a paper soon on advertising, marketing, getting into public consciousness. So that's some information that they could implement into that paper. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
it speaks to the notion also, you mentioned, you work with women, and you get to lead women in certain capacities. I think it's we think it's absolutely beautiful what you do. Uh, so if you could explain to everybody, you're the CEO of Women's Lifestyle Coaching. What is women's lifestyle coaching to begin? And how how did this all come about?
So, women's lifestyle coaching is my business that I created about 6 years ago. And how it came about is I was a social worker taking kids from their family and giving them to the court system before I had my business. And I hated that job. I hated taking families away, to ripping families apart. I had to be in court and speaking kind of like a tattletale on parents. And I did not like that. So, I had all these skills because I worked in, child protective services. I worked with the court system. I worked with family advocate. I was doing training for parents. And then I also worked in a preschool program for 10 years. So I realized that I had a lot of stuff that I can create my package of offer my business to the world. And, I wanted to I was too bossy. I didn't want to listen to anybody. I was, I just wanted to do my things. I always butted head with different people because I had all these brand ideas, and none of my supervisors were implementing them. So it wasn't until I got into therapy, and then somebody's like, I think my therapist said, I think you'd be good at having your own business because you don't like to be told what to do. So that's when that's when I hired a coach. And a coach is somebody who mentors you through the process, and you pay them as you're working towards the process. Because I believe that if you want to get something done, we all know, if we don't have a teacher, and they don't keep us accountable, we're not going to turn in that paper. We won't show up. So I hired a coach,
Makes
and a
sense.
a coach mentored me for almost, I had this coach for a year. And so I was building my business for 3 years. So I was working full time and working on my business full time. So I had two jobs for 3 years while I was busy building my business. It wasn't until when finally I got 8 clients when I signed when I put a offer. When you do a social media blow up offer, you do a workshop, and then you do the offer, and then 8 people signed up for my coaching program, where I coach them how to put goals together so that way they can move faster. And when I got 8 clients, I had the confidence. I said, I can do this on my own, and then I can let go my job. So that's when I put in like 3 months notice. And then after that, since then, I've been focused on my business. And part of being in your own business owner is, it's not that just independency and freedom, is that continuous learning. I love to learn. We were talking about PhD and classes, all these books in the back. Such a vivid reader. I love to learn. I'm like such a I like to learn about personal development, consciousness, about the mindset, and all of that. And I
Yes.
think part of building your business is, you're not getting comfortable. You always want more, and wanting more is that purpose of serving, helping more people. Like, yes, I got to help 8 women, and in my mind, I started thinking, how can I help 16 women? How can I help 24 women? How can I like, your goal just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I'm like, okay, I'm at this point in my life, how can I give half of my income away? So that's when the Firmino Foundation was born. And you're like, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and you want to help more people, and it's so addicting. Like, helping is so addicting. Like, there's so much
Yes.
energy in you. You get up in the morning, you're like, oh, I get to help 3,500 students go to school and have an education and build a business. That's like the future of the country. That's like the future of the continent. So I don't know where that question went. I just lost
That
my train of
question
thought.
went exactly where it should have went. Exactly where you brought that, because that's the work you're doing, Rukshana. And quite frankly, that's what this is all about. And you're getting some emoji applause coming your way, because you mentioned consciousness. You mentioned, I've talked to the students just recently about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and I did a exercise with them, where I had them draw. They may remember this. Uh, the mind versus the brain. And so we drew the brain first, and then I would ask them, well, now draw me the mind. And it was always this abstract concept. The mind has a definitive understanding, and its processes, which you could see, via a dictionary. Though it's the same thing as the brain. The understanding of how we utilize the brain, the capacity for its use, is the same aspect of the notion of the mind. It's something that one of these students can contribute to that gap in knowledge, to filling that gap in knowledge, and really sharing their ideas, because their ideas are incredibly valuable. I tell them all the time, Rukshana, as I understand this, where we are, in this juncture of societal time in our lives, it's important for them to recognize how valuable their ideas are. And so into that realm of the conscious mind, I want to ask you what you think consciousness is, because that could go like super, like, well, I mean, specifically, what does that really refer to? Consciousness is a big idea. But
Mhm,
when we talk about that idea of a mindset,
mhm,
uh, trying to stay positive, I think, is important. And I'm somebody, Rakshana, that perhaps the students would attest to this. I have good energy, and I do try to stay on the positive side of things, and I try to bring motivation, inspiration. And I told them all that I wasn't always like that. This is something I had to work on. Talk to them about neuroplasticity and how we can shape our neurological pathways. We could change who we are essentially through habit, through practice, and that can go good and bad, right? You have
Mhm.
bad habits, then that becomes right what the life we start living. We have good habits, and we do and we practice certain things in our life to succeed, such as ideas that I want to ask you about right now. Um, what do you practice? How do you stay positive? Because you are extremely positive and somebody who like consistently is a a well for people to go to and to find a semblance of what uh, it is to be brought back down to earth, if that makes sense. How do you? And I say that because you're humble. You're not that person on social media who is promoting all of the yada 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 and the glitz and the glam. You're somebody who has a story, a message. Um, and that's why I asked this question with that in mind. How do you say stay positive?
I think with this, how do you stay positive is knowing that I think we talked about this at the beginning of the call is passion. When you, and I'm going to tell you this, when you get up in the morning and you cannot wait to do that thing, that is your passion, and that will keep you positive. When you cannot, when you're like waiting, you don't want the day to end because you're enjoying that so much. You're enjoying whatever you're doing so much. That is when you know that that keeps you joy. So I think my passion keeps me on that as well. But also one of the things really plays the thing is every single day I write 5 things I'm grateful for. And having coming from a country where you had nothing, okay, that building the life that I have today, I am so grateful. Okay, it could be like I'm grateful right now. Today my 5 gratitude was to be talking to you guys and having a text message from my son who lives in New York. And just having a cat to cuddle, having that journal to write on that journal book, like the simplest things. You're talking about the neuroplasticity is the more you do that, like the bigger things doesn't matter because you're so aware. Like when the whole world is complaining about whatever drama is going on, you're like so grateful you have electricity and water. In Oregon, like we didn't have electricity for a week, like everybody was complaining. I was so grateful. You know what? I was grateful I had my headlamp because I go camping. I had my headlamp. I had grateful that I had wood outside. I could make fire. Like, those little things, it makes you more grateful. And I think when you practice those things every day, it really makes your mindset turn. I'm like, all those things are not important. Whatever somebody's complaining about, that they're not important because I'm alive. My heart is beating. I have a
Mm.
computer, I have a phone. Like all those things make it has so much meaning in life because you know that at the end of the day, whatever you talk to, whoever you talk to, the person you connected with, that's your mission. You have accomplished something because you're grateful because you did something good. You showed up for your work, you showed up for class. That's like huge. Just a big, you got out of bed, you were sitting down in front of the computer. Like that's huge. So grateful has really opened up the doors for so much for me.
Rukshana, outstanding points. Thank you for that. And it makes me think. See, I want everyone to realize, like I mentioned, I've worked on myself to be this more positive person. As Rakshana's speaking about the ideas of practice, habit, and just know I did get a couple messages for those who have another class as well. It's okay if you have to leave. Thank you so much for being here. For those who did have to leave, I do have a whole bunch of us here, so just know it, whenever you got to come and go, thank you all. I'm going to have this posted up in a couple hours up on Mole. Okay, so you're going to see all this. And thank you everybody for being here from the second class that's popping on in 2 at the 3:40, and my other classes, my Monday, Wednesday classes. Um, you know, the idea of, uh, you know, us maybe working on ourselves, but realizing that we may not always have it easy, right? We may not always have it easy. So there's going to be those times that we get down. So that's what I want everybody to realize. You know, and Rakshana, what do you think about this idea? You know, we're all human, right? And we're gonna have times where we're gonna feel a little blah. It's going to happen. I think it's just neurochemistry. It's things happen, whatever it may be. Life happens, right? Uh, so when that happens, how do you recommend and advise all the students and give them a little advice? How can they try to stay afloat and stay positive on those times that are really down? Because again, I'm here in my 40s, put a lot of, at least 2 decades of work into myself and all of these ideas. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, here's the Josie out of nowhere, look at him, he's positive and he has ideas. Yeah, well, that's because I put a lot of sacrifice. I've sacrificed a lot of time to study, or as you all are doing. So just know, okay, all the hard work creates a future beyond your wildest imaginations. Never thought I'd be as lucky as I am right now. So Rakshana, like when you get super, when life hits you, you're just super down. Like, how do you stay afloat if you don't have that passion yet?
Mhm.
Uh, obviously as we've grown to become who we are, how do they find that passion or stay positive if life really starts to get them down?
Like you said, I think one of the things is we're not always going to have those positive moments. Life is going to hit us sometimes, and having that moment, to sit in it, to feel those pain, it's definitely a natural thing. Like, feel it, sit with it, and then find it. I mean, don't sit with it for a long time. Maybe if you think you're going more longer, maybe you need help, or you need some, you're going through depression and you need help, then it's the time for you to take accountability, to reach out to the doctor or therapist and talk about it. But for me, I've realized that energy drives me. Okay, so if I'm feeling low, and it happens once in a month, every twice in a month, whatever, it happens, but energy drives me. It helps me kick me back up. Yes, I'll have my poo poo party, I'll cry, and once in a while I'll post something on Facebook. People can sense that I'm struggling mentally because they see my post. I'm really truthful about what's happening. So have that moment, like sit in that crap and just feel it. However, put the energy, what's going to drive, what makes you excited, what makes you jump back up. For me, if I put some music on and I start dancing, and the music that makes me feel come back alive is my African music. It has lots of drums, it's got a rhythm, it makes my hips move, and I become silly and I just dance, and I put it really loud, and I go outside and I embarrass my neighbors, and that makes me joy, because then I get to see them smile. I get to see them joyful, because me making myself silly, it's making them smile. So I have this ripple effect of energy flowing in, right? So that's one of them. And the other one is when I feel really in that dark place, is nature. Like, I go so much in nature. I'm constantly on my phone, is constantly ringing, emails are coming in constantly. So the only time I can like rejuvenate myself, so I can, because I'm giving so much, is when I go in nature. And when I go in nature, like literally I'm disconnecting. My phone doesn't work when I go to the mountain, because I am filling in with all that energy, all that power of flowing fresh air, the trees, the water flow, everything, all those things are flowing into me. And then I come home, I'm so packed with full of energy. Guess what? I'm ready to receive all those emails and respond to those text messages and that Facebook post. And I'm responding, I'm taking the time. But I know that when I'm that kind of feeling kind of poo poo, I'm there, I will sit there for a while, because I need to go flow through this energy, just like the water is flowing through. I know it's not going to be there for a long time. Just like when you hit up, when life goes up, life is going to come down. You won't be down for a long time. You're going to go back up. You're going to come back down. Life is a flowing of energy through you. and it's okay to fail. But with me, I have so much energy. I think it really stresses the people out because they could feel.
That's cool. That's cool. No, that's cool, Rukshana.
The
I
energy
understand that.
side.
I got a little of that. I feel that energy too. I know
So
how that is.
I gotta go sometimes. I gotta go to places. I gotta bring myself down. I gotta close my eyes and breathe. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to a very low energy. I'm gonna be talking to all the introverts right now. I'm gonna make sure that I bring myself down, like consciously bring myself down. But let life flow through you, goes through ups and downs, but don't stay you down really long, because when you do stay down long, it's time for you to check in.
And that's the passion that we talk about. I'm passionate about what I do here. If I wasn't passionate, I would not have the energy and yada yada, be dynamic as I am, as you are passionate about what you do. And I want you all, my scholars, to recognize that this is what it looks like when you have people that are passionate about what it is that they are manifesting into this reality based upon what their vision is. That's really what this is. Rukshana had a vision. As for those that didn't get to hear this story initially, Rukshana, and you started in Mozambique, and I apologize, and then ended up in Malawi.
Now we're going to Malawi, and then our next country is in Zambia.
In
Yes.
Zambia, yes, and as you mentioned, you were a refugee in the mid '80s.
Mhm.
For those that came in, because I had a couple students come on in for my second class. My other classes come in a little later. I saw, and I told them it because they have schedules where they have other classes and practices. So I told them, whenever you could be here, thank you, every one of you, thank you for being here. So I just wanted to give a little context, a little background. So when you're hearing all of these stories, you're going to go back and watch the entire guest lecture because you'll get a really nice context. But this all deals with believing. Uh, Believing in a vision. And I want to ask you, so this goes into what I feel is one of the most important aspects of being successful. And that's, first off, having that vision, that passion for something, for a direction, and then believing in yourself when maybe people tell you no. And there's times to reflect and to reevaluate and to change it up a little bit, and that's a good thing. That reflection every day is a very good thing. But believing in that end vision, the masterpiece we see within ourselves that we chip away at every day of our life, that we're working for the world to see this masterpiece in us. How does believing in your vision impact your success as a businesswoman, Rukshana? Just a simple notion of believing, because there's a lot of times people may tell others they can't do something, they don't have what it takes. There's a lot of times we'll tell ourselves that, like, why me? Why should I be the person that is able to create the school over in Mozambique, right? Why am I that person that is able to, I don't have all of these, maybe all of the connections, or all of what, and you do have a bachelor's in human development, I believe, though.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so you
Yeah.
do have that experience as well. So I
Yeah.
apologize. How does that operate? Believing.
I believe that the believing comes through through confidence, and the more you take those big decisions, like graduating from college, and then you have the confidence of believing on another belief, and then creating that belief. But I also believe that belief, you have to have support system. I mean, you guys have a great teacher who you can email, you can ask question, and he got your back no matter what. And I
Thank
think
you.
borrowing that confidence, he's got all the confidence, borrowing that confidence temporarily until you gain your confidence. And I think it's important part of the belief. But yes, life will throw you rocks, thinking to question yourself. Who are you to do this? Who are you to do that? And you know what? And it's part of that process. So making sure that you have those people who are going to support you, who got your back, because you need them more than ever. Those people are the ones who are going to hold your hands, or that email, that quick call. You want to be around that environment who are going to help you move on to the next level. Because if you're going to be in, have this great grand idea that you're going to pour your heart in, why would you want to be in the surrounding of people who are not going to support you? And it is very common. I have these great products that I'm working on. I cannot share those products with my family until I have the confidence, until I have mastered the steps and the skills and the, the problem solving. And then just a couple weeks before I put it out into the world, then I will tell them. I am not going to tell my family or my clients my grand product that I'm working on. So build your confidence and then tell your family. Like and then the belief will come. Like the more you work on products, whatever you're working on, like when you guys graduate, there's the belief that you got it, you could do it, and then it's going to give you the belief to do something else. Then you get your first job. Oh, I did it. My oldest right now just got a job in Seattle. Now she believes that she can
Congratulations.
graduate and then get a career and move across the country. Like it gives you the confidence because she moved one city away from the other city where she used to live in LA. And I think the belief comes in through confidence, through practice, through, but we need to hang out with the people who are going to support us. Don't Yeah, you want to be around those people who got our back.
It's a great point. And quick question: women's lifestyle coaching, that is a network of people that do that, I believe.
Yeah, so the women's lifestyle coaching is a coaching business that has different products underneath it. So women's lifestyle coaching has one-on-one coaching where I coach women to create businesses, to transition where they are so I can put their products online. Second is we have group coaching where we have that, we're talking about mentorship, being around the people who got your back. So when people are starting businesses or they're trying to create something, they can't tell their family, they need a network of women who are going to help them, encourage them, because as we all know, we're crazy people who have these crazy ideas, and we need support people who are crazy like us to support us to get us to the next level. So, and then so under that, we also have retreats. So I do retreats in Hawaii. We just had, I have a couple retreats there. So, and then I do backpacking, hiking. So there's different products underneath, and then we also have the fashion show, and the
Yes.
fashion show which is called the African Fashion Show, because of my belief that I came from 3 different countries and I hold so many cultures. I wanted to bring in the culture here to Portland, where I live, Portland, Oregon, and bring African culture to Portland, where I have all these amazing women from a different, diverse background and wear African clothes, and we have we have a face painting, like a tribal face painting, and they get to model, all about embracing their body, embracing their art, embracing their story, their her story, empowering. That's another product. And then I have the Confidence Speakers Catalyst, where women share the stories, kind of like a TED Talk style. They share the stories on stage. Like, how courageous is us for us to take our stories and cultivate it in 20 minutes and share it with the world, to give us the confidence, so that way we can write that book, the confidence, so that way we can go on and create that business, so whatever it is. So under women's lifestyle, it's a business, but it has a lot of products under the business. And then 30% of all that business that's coming in goes to Firmino Foundation.
Wow. So, first off, absolutely incredible work you're doing. And I know, as you mentioned, you do retreats in Hawaii. I believe I saw a lot of nice pictures you posted up recently of being over in Hawaii. And I'm not sure what the work was exactly, but and I know I have some of my students here from Hawaii, so that's really cool. And a big shout out to Hawaii out there. And just want to say as well, it's absolutely important for everybody to recognize that they can create what you are, with whatever context that they want to create something the way you are creating. And I want to make that point and reemphasize it, my scholars. Rukshana is an individual who created all of this from the pebbles. This is an individual who has well, she mentioned the International Women's Lifestyle Conference and African Fashion Show she had put together. A speaker, one of Nelson Mandela's daughters, I think, spoke over, I believe did speak over at the conference. Just want to ask you quickly, how was that conference?
The conference was crazy amazing. I mean, the hardest time of our life, when we had COVID shut down, we had the fires here in Oregon,
Yeah.
we had the bridges, and there was so much hate, that the BLM, what was happening. There was just so much stress, and I had this opportunity to turn it off and close everything and just say, let's just not do it. But we pulled it off. We pulled it off because at that time when there's so much hate going on in the world, we brought businesses together, we brought systems together, we brought support system. And um, and people would say this, how is that possible? Because that conference and the fashion show was a benefit for Firmino Foundation, we raised $17,000.
Wow,
People would say, how could
congratulations.
you do that in COVID? How can you
Wow.
raise money in COVID when everything is shut down? How in the world? So we're able to pull that off. And yes, it took every inch and every energy of my body. But like when you have that clarity, that picture, that vision in your head, and your heart is screaming, just saying that life is coming to me and that I need to deliver this to the world, and the world is waiting, and they can not only wait from you, and only you can deliver that. And they had took every life force out of me to bring that to life, to make that happen. So now everybody's reaching out to me. I'm like, when are you going to have the African fashion show again? Are you going to have it this year? I want to be part of it. I want to be
Yeah.
sponsored. So again, it
I
wasn't
see them all on the social media.
it was such a
Everybody's on your
crazy,
social
yeah,
media
it's
pages.
such
Yeah.
a crazy idea. But the whole purpose of the African fashion show was to bring people together, in the hardest time, and to bring businesses together, and to empower, because some of these design actually came from Africa. So they were made locally from the kids in the trade school, and that was shipped
Awesome.
here. So all the 100% of the money went back to them, which helped small businesses. But we got to appreciate and experience all these culture exchanging, the tribal face painting, and we came together in the moment where everybody was fighting about culture, races, separation, and all of that, what is appropriate. I didn't care what the world was saying. I said, we are coming together, we need to unite, love is the answer. And we did
Mm.
it. We pulled it off. And that is what I'm saying. If you have that grind idea, if you have that mission in life, whatever it is screaming at you, that that idea is called life, and that
Mm.
life is called love. And that love is ready to pour out of you, so that you could serve, you could help people, because your idea is going to help so many people. It's not just an idea, it's a life living through you, to experience, to help people come together, so we can help one another. Because at the end of life, that's all we're here to do, is love. you
Mm.
know yeah, we
Yes. I think we could all sit here and just listen to you for another hour, talk about what you're talking about, because it makes so much sense. It's so beautiful that you did what you did, Rukshana. We are so impressed by you, inspired by you. Lisa, myself, my wife, really just blown away by the work you do. And it's important. It reminds me of a quote by Dr. Cornell West, and he says, "In order to save the people, you have to serve the people. In order to lead the people, you have to love the people." And I thought that was a really powerful message, and you embody this. You are the aspect, the embodiment of what it is to uh, see what it is that you want to bring to reality, and you create it. You're not letting uh, life dictate what you create. You're creating what you want to see in life. And I think that is very, very important, because quite honestly, that's where invention comes in. That's where progress is made, when we're able to make a little diagram. I saw this meme one time. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so bear with me. Gonna rip off a piece of paper, and here I go. Just gonna okay. And this, okay, so this is pretty much, let's see here. Now, this my little okay, yeah, sorry about this. You ready what this means? Okay, in that circle, it says CZ. Okay? Outside of it, it's supposed to be a little X, like X marks the spot, and the words magic happens. See, you got your comfort zone, but It's out where that X is, where all the magic happens. You know what I'm talking about? We have to get out of that comfort zone. We have to believe in ourselves. Sometimes it could feel as though we're on the wrong path by believing in a vision. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever felt like you're trying to bring all of this to fruition and you're just like, am I wasting my time? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes. So one of the things I'm going to give a great example of the fashion show, the African fashion show. As I was going through this transition, hosting this event, we had to turn everything online because we couldn't meet due to COVID. So we had to do like an online production. I felt fake through the whole process because I brought in a production. I mean, they were not easy production. These were big production here in Portland, Oregon. So we had a production to do makeup, and then we had a production to do videography and photography because we had to take photos of the models, and then we had to do a portfolio of the models, and then we had to do videography of the models modeling different outfits. So and then we had the marketing team, and then I mean, you know how it is to make a big project like that, and I was part of this big massive project. I kept asking myself, who am I to be doing this? And then I had all the messages because the world was so angry at that time. They're seeing all these pictures of Caucasian women or other colored women wearing tribal masks. Why are they wearing tribal masks? Because they didn't understand the concept behind the whole fashion show. So I was getting hate emails and hate posts. So I had like
Wow.
one world where all these motivating things were going on, all this production was going on, and then I had all these negative things going on. So it really threw me who I am and what I'm supposed to do here. I had a vision of creating something, and then I was so thrown and confused. Who am I to be doing that? So, and then of course that's where you need to, be surrounded by amazing people who got you. So I called one of my old mentors. I said, I'm struggling with all these negative things, and she said, in the world there's always going to be the naysayers and the good sayers. So get used to that.
Yes,
so get used to
yes.
that. So get used to that.
That's right.
And then through this journey, don't forget who you are. And it is so easy to get lost because we want to give, we want to we want to represent ourselves, we want to put our image out there, and we feel phony and we feel fake, and it is going to feel, as you're growing, as you're changing, as you're making big production, as you're creating big things, you are not the same person 3 years ago.
That's right.
You Because now you're bringing in 3,000 people and you're making more money, so your mindset is going to be different compared to that person 10 years ago. So you
Yes.
have to get used. Your ideas are going to expand to the bigger level of yourself. And you're understanding that your mindset is going to grow. And so
Yes.
it's really important for you to figure out and say, which energy am I going to focus on the naysayers or the ones who are saying, good job, keep going? I would rather focus on those positive, and I do not even respond to those naysayers. I do not even give them a heart. I'm like, good for them. You at least have a spotlight to complain. You have an email to complain. I am not going to give you any of my energy because you do not deserve to respond to that email, to that text, because I'm going to put my energy to those people who are supporting me, who are
Yes.
encouraging me.
Yes. Several different ideas popped into my mind when you said that. First is I concur 100 million%. Albert Einstein had a great quote. He said, "A person's mind stretched to a new idea never goes back
Mhm.
to its original dimensions." And exactly what you just said, Rukshana, the more experience we have, the next 3 years, many of these students will be either close to graduating or graduated. They'll be in the workforce, things will be happening in their life. And I want them to realize that when you're working those jobs for your first time, when you're doing whatever it is for your first time, exactly what Rukshana is how I feel. Like when I started teaching, there was an old saying, because for new teachers, they were getting their feet under them, per se, when they're in the classroom and I taught in New York City, and teachers would say, listen, new teachers, they weren't sure, what to do, and they're like, listen, we just got to fake it till we make it. That's what they would say. They would just get in that classroom and give it their best, right? And that's something that takes time to hone in on. And so don't think that, like, out of the gates, even like the first 2 years, you'll probably get comfortable 2 years, like 3 to 5 years, you'll start to feel like you have proficiency at a like within that career place, So give it a little time. You'll get that comfort in there. Okay. And Rukshana, it's absolutely inspiring to hear you speak. I have so many ideas that I want to get into, and I have more students coming in. So thank you for allowing me to go to my waiting room for a second. Everybody, this is Rukshana Triem, as you say, up on our Zoom Menlo College Business Communications page here. And thank you for the kind messages also I see up on the uh, uh, boards there, the chats. Thank you so much for those. Yeah, well, quite frankly, you all are awesome. So right back at you all as we reciprocate that. And every one of you popping up. Hey, Curtis, I see you pop up. Hey, Christine. Hey, Melvin. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Matt. Hey, Corey. Hey, Feline. And everybody else. And sorry, there's people on the second page and third page I don't see right now. And Ryan, yeah, thank you for that. Gerardo said very kind things. Ryan made a point saying it's beautiful. So that means a lot. And again, hey, I didn't we see you pop up there, my brother. It's we have students from all over the world right now on this Zoom page, and I think this is absolutely brilliant stuff. That's why allow me for taking a moment just to reflect on this. Uh, hey, everybody, give a shout out if you'd like. Where you were born and raised. Give a shout out. Just throw it on out there if you feel like it.
Oakland, Oakland.
Oakland, California, in the house. Who else you from, everybody?
Bueno, Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Argentina. We have Buenos Aires, Argentina, in the house. Where else we at? Where else we at?
I'm from San Carlos, California.
Hey, Matt. And Matt, what part of California at?
San Carlos.
San Carlos, great area over there. Somebody else was speaking when Miguel made a point too, I think, and I apologize. Where else you from, everybody? I'm from Yosemite area right now. Right now, I got Honolulu, Hawaii out there on the chats right now. We got Philippines on the chats right now. We have Finland on the chats right now. San Francisco on the chats. Maui on the chats. Big shout out. New Zealand on the chats right now. France on the chats right now. Yeah, this is the Torrance, California. So Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in the house right now. It brings tears to my eyes because I have such a wonderful respect for these students. Oakland in the house. Such a respect, Rukshana. And really, I told the students I think they would really, really connect with you. Kenya in the house right now, and that's Eldoret, I believe that is in the house. Yes, uh, you know this is all about strengthening uh, these students and ourselves while we're doing that in this process. Isn't it amazing, Rakshana? Uh, where we are in our life to say that we're at this point to be able to be lucky enough to be around all of these incredible individuals. Uh, and it's interesting. They're giving a presentation in about a week, and it's a logo presentation. So they had to create a logo for a hypothetical product or service or app or company, which they're going to present the entire business idea week 11, but they're just going to present the logo aspect next week. A little branding piece I like to do. And you know, and when I present, I tell them till this day I still get nervous. I've been doing this almost 2 decades professionally. 2003, I was in a classroom. Before that, I would try to get on stage and perform music, as you know I do, Rukshana, and the students I know I do. So I'd be on stage a bit more, but to have this opportunity to present often, you would think that I would just not be nervous ever, that I would never be nervous. I was nervous today. I was nervous today because because I put a lot of weight on myself. I want to perform well, and I just want everything to be super awesome for everybody. Um, so nervousness is a part of life, I do believe, and you know, we could in presentation aspects there could be times that nerves can overtake us, and I understand that, but typically when we're presenting, we're all going to get those nervous feelings. And I just want to ask you: have you ever been nervous when you gave a presentation? And if so, like, how do you overcome being nervous in presentations?
That's a great question. Yes. Thank God that we have gone to the Zoom world, but I think it's any nervous, it will come anytime. I mean, I do presentation all over the world. I talk and stuff, and I always get nervous on stage. Whether I had a training yesterday at Portland State University, I was doing a 6 weeks training, and that was my first time, and I was so nervous. And what I have to remember, and I have a sticker on my computer right now, is um, and the message just says that I am here to deliver the message, and I'm the messenger.
Mm,
And I know when I'm here to deliver the message, and I have all the outlines, the message, and I believe this is a spiritual person, maybe, is the message is coming through me. I'm just a human being living what I mean, a spiritual experience. Whatever God, universe, whatever power that you use is giving me that information, and that information came through my past, my experiences, my trauma, and those are going to be delivered, and I'm going to share that message to you. Because at the end, as it says, it's not the I'm not the message. I'm just the messenger. And I carry those experiences as the messenger, and I'm sharing that. And it's not about me. It's about the lessons that I'm going to share with you guys. So that way I don't get caught up, and I have to remember that. So yesterday I was like, doing a Zoom call, and I was thinking about, oh my God, will they notice that I don't have shoes? Will they notice that I'm not? Will they notice that? I like silly things like that. I mean, will they notice I'm wearing sweats underneath it? I'm like, you go through these sessions, but I just make a joke out of it. I'm like, do you guys, like, what are the things you guys wear when you're on Zoom? Because I'm wearing sweatpants and this beautiful shirt. Like, I think the more vulnerable you are, the more truthful you kind of take that out of the pressure,
yeah,
and then you share that, and then you just it's not up in your head rotating. So
that's right.
I've been doing trainings for 6 years, and I'm doing public speaking. The biggest public speaking I did it in front of 1,500 people in San Diego, California, and I still get nervous. But what I always ask, for me, my experiences, if they give me the stage, I always ask them that, can I remove my shoes? Because I like to be grounded, and I'm such a nature person. I like to be on the ground, and I have fear about falling off the stage and things like that. So I like to be grounded, because I feel like the more I'm closer to the ground, the more I'm able to deliver and be myself, and without my shoes, without anything.
That's so funny you do that, Rukshana, because I do the same thing when I perform. I typically am wearing sandals. Like, now, if I'm wearing like socks and shoes, I'm not going to take off my socks and shoes. They're like, all right, everybody, just wait a second. Like, personally, for me, when I'm playing guitar on stage, but typically I'll wear my sandals and I'll take the sandals off, and it's for the exact same reason that the rationale you just made. I just feel connected. I feel like there's this divider between me and the soles of the shoes, and it's like stopping the continuity of the energy. It's all abstract. It's so abstract. I'm going right now, my scholars. Please pause me for a moment. But there's some interesting aspects of this. You know, I mentioned the conscious and subconscious mind. And again, these are understood to be, storehouses of information, right? Subconscious mind. And I don't know if my Thursday class today got to see the video, because I showed it to the first 3 classes. Though, of course, today's class, we had our guest lecture during this time frame. So you'll see this on Tuesday for the one class I didn't see it. But we got a little bit into the subconscious mind and understanding that, you know, there are ways for us to hone in on our energies, but also to, how would I say it, sharpen our consciousness, uh, 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 hone in on it in a way where, through habit, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of neuroplasticity, not to go too into that, but I think that's an important feature of, how successful people really maximize their potential. You're somebody who's maximized your potential. And like you said, there's been a lot of things that have happened to you in your life that have been obstacles. You have overcome these obstacles. And so I just want to ask, more on like an interesting idea of the notion of manifesting thoughts into reality.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm going to sit here and make the point that just by thinking about something, it's not going to come true. Just so for my students don't zone out on me and say, "Oh, DeJosie, what is he saying? You just think about something, it'll happen." I'm not saying that. With hard work, but that idea of that vision, that dream, and we talked a bit about this. What do you think about that idea of manifesting thoughts into reality?
This is what I know is that thought is life. That life is waiting to come through you, and then when it comes through you, you give it energy, right? How much energy are you giving to that thought? And the more, like, we focus so much on the things that we don't want or the things that's going to happen. Like, how about if we focus, and have ever noticed that you focus on something that you don't so much that it has happened, or like an accident, or like a car, like a whatever it is, how about you focus on so much energy that it has actually come true, right? We have this power and the energy, and you cannot read it, you cannot see it, but we have this power of energy of thinking of a thought. We're the only human on the planet who can do this, can think of a thought and can create that thought into putting the energy, and start asking yourself, how can I do this? How can this come into manifestation? Or how can this come into reality? Instead of saying, this would never happen. Of course, this will never happen, because it's a story you have created that rewinded over and over and over in your mind. But it says, what is the possibility of what I can create? What are the possibilities that I can create? And who can I invite into this journey I can create?
It's a narrative, like you were saying, Rukshana. There's like I didn't mean to jump in there. It's like a narrative that we speak to ourselves in our quote unquote mind, again, to use that term loosely, that we replay in our thought process. So if we have the ability to say certain things to ourselves and to reaffirm the belief in our visions, then in the world of communication and business, all of these students can maximize their potential. Whatever sector of industry they want to get into, whether it's being a school counselor, a CEO for a big digital business, a .com business, sports medicine person. We have so many different, I don't want to leave anybody out. We have so many different majors, and I am so sorry, everybody. Psychologists, so many of you out there.
Yeah.
But you have that ability. And so that narrative then, Rukshana, does that tie into the way that you create your dreams, that you turn your dreams into your reality?
It does, because I have negative recordings too. But I totally say the opposite. And what I do with that is I record myself. So let's say, here's an example. Rukshana, you suck. And then the opposite narrative that I say, oh, Rukshana, you're a phenomenal leader. You're an amazing teacher. You are an incredible coach. So I have recorded those everybody has an iPhone. I have recorded those, and I listen to those when I drive. Like, it's so cool listening to my voice bouncing back. Like, after 100 times, you're gonna feel like you're a queen walking on the red carpet. And I'm like we hear our parents telling us that, our teachers telling us that, but we don't hear ourselves telling us that. Like, we have to believe that, and the only way to believe is to change that neuroplasticity, knowing that we believe it, so we can repeat that. Have you ever repeated, like, how many times you guys watch a McDonald's commercial and you know all the words over and over and over because you have watched it over and over? It's the same recording. Like, whatever you want to create, record it and listen while you drive, or when you go on your bike ride, or when you go to walk. And then eventually it's going to expand of what is possible for you to create. I know it sounds phony, but we have so much negative recording in our head, but we don't do the positive recording of what is possible for us to create. Like, look at my life is a great example. A former refugee, English is my third language, and I've created what? Because I had to create that. I'm a phenomenal philanthropist. I'm an incredible giver. I give to my community. I serve. Like, I had to say, instead of saying, Rukshana, you suck, you're such a loser. Like, yeah, those are recorded every day. It's easy for me to say that, but I don't want to bring that energy in. So I have that narrative while I'm driving. I'm listening to my deep voice. Rukshana, you're an amazing, incredible teacher.
I think that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I had a friend when I was 19. He was from Jersey, moved out to Long Island, and lived up the block from me, so became good friends. And remember one day I was 19, going through one of those difficult times in life. I was 19 or so, and just feeling a little blah, like I mentioned earlier, how that happens. And we were in a car. I think I had a Dodge Charger at that point. I was also a pizza delivery boy, and I used to pick him up. He used to drive me, and I used to deliver pizzas because I didn't feel like delivering the pizzas alone. Little private pizza place over in Long Island. So he says, Nick, you got to get out of the car. Got out of the car. He said, look at that window, right? It was dark out. I saw my reflection, with the street lights. And he's like, say you're the best. Honestly, I couldn't do it. I
Mm.
couldn't do it. It was so awkward and weird. I was like, I am the
Were you
one.
saying
I'm the
I'm a
best.
loser, baby?
Yeah,
Why don't
right.
you call
Like
me? I'll
nowadays,
see you
yeah.
next.
Nowadays, I'm like, oh, you know what? I need decades of practicing this. But it goes to what you said. It's all about what we tell ourselves. It's how we repeat that narrative. And it's not to be egotistical, my scholars, for when people do that. But these are habits. These are effective habits of blazing your path to your future of what you ultimately want to do with your life. Okay. So again, right now we are all in an undergrad bachelor's program in Menlo. 10 years from now, you'll see how many of these ideas play into your life. And this is absolute wisdom coming from Miss Rukshana Triem. What a brilliant woman, a brilliant businesswoman. And now we are at 418. And I've had Rukshana on for a bit. And but I would like to open up in a moment. If anybody would like to ask any questions or say hi to Rakshana, and I'll finalize with a thought also. And Rakshana, thank you so much for your time. I just realized I went a little bit over than I would have went because to be respectful of your time. But as you know, just call on us here, call on me. I say us, my wife, myself, but you call on me, and whatever we can do to be of assistance, we are there for you and your family, as you know that. Rakshana, so interesting conversation with consciousness, and you know, all of these ideas as well, my crew. This comes into play after as Rakshana has a bachelor's in human development, I think it is human development. And then years of implementing practice. So just let all of these ideas marinate. And, you know, I'll bring it full circle and ask once more about what you're doing in a couple weeks, but not so much even just though what you're doing in a couple weeks. What is the vision for Firmino Foundation as well as women's lifestyle coaching? What is the vision, the direction you see as people, those of us who understand, people like us understand some powers in creating lists? If you had a 5 to 10 year list or a goal, where do you see a Firmina Foundation, which creates the schools in Africa, and a women's lifestyle coaching, which is a women empowerment group, which really allows women to not only speak their narrative and voice, but to maybe perhaps find their voice also if needed. And just amazing work you do. Just so,
Oh,
dig
thank
it
you.
so
Thank you for
much.
having. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me. So, yeah, the vision is really eventually to create a system in place that is going to exchange the two worlds of products. You know how Amazon works, right? We all shop on Amazon. It's very popular. Everybody knows. Is to have a system that where businesses in those three countries will be able to create a product, and you'll be in this database where they can upload a product and they can sell it all over the world. And this is why I believe is, in most African countries, especially in the developing country, they believe that, and this is very much taught through generation, is made in USA or made in China is the product is that they need. So I'm teaching these young audiences in trade school that you can create a product in this village that's not even on the map and put the village on the map. And the reason we
Hmm.
believe that is if we create things like this village is called Made in Tengwa, right? And they have like a chili pest or a pest, or they make clothesline or whatever. So just imagine how that village can expand with expansion of business and empowering, how it's going to help the whole economy of the country. So I know that that's why I'm investing a lot of in education. So that's the vision of Firmino Foundation, is helping empower these young kids to build businesses that support their villages to sell the products anywhere in US. So that's why we're going to be creating a system. And
Self-sufficiency, to be
yes,
self-sufficient.
yes, yes.
Oh,
So
goodness
that way
gracious.
they don't
Yes.
have to say, I want to order stuff from Made in USA or Made in China. I'm like, people are going to be ordering stuff from Made in Mozambique. I'm like, where's Mozambique? It's in Africa. We'll put Mozambique on the map. We'll put
That's right.
Malawi
That's
on the map.
wonderful.
We'll put Zambia on the map. But the goal is to put that on the map so that way we can expand how we see things. Like, everybody likes stuff that's made in USA, but technically things that's made in USA, it's made in China. So we all know that. So hopefully just teaching them empowerment that you can create that and ship it all over the world, because most African countries is very rich in so much, like so much, and they know. And my purpose is to teach them to know that you have enough to feed the whole continent. So making sure that they use their resources like the coffee, the tea, the coconut, the chili, whatever, and they could be exporting that all over the world. But that is a 10-year vision. It's an app system that we're going to create that's going to upload all of these products, material, food, supplies, that's going to be shipped, and then 100% is going to go to their community. So whether it's selling into dollars or it's selling into rand, whatever money it is, it's all 100% is going to go into their into their villages, and empowering education, taking care of their land, taking care of the wildlife, taking care of all of the things that hopefully that's going to expand with working with other nonprofit to help one another.
And Rakshana, it's great because first off, I hope that inspires everybody to recognize you could put where you're from on the map, where you want to see an area that may have a difficult time in any capacity, and uplift it in any regard. You have the power to do that. And there was something that you had said that was great as well. Oh, goodness gracious. But just really quick on that line of thought, that's something that I think is paramount, is recognizing that, as Rukshana, she put the work into Firmino Foundation. 10-year plan is going to come to fruition irrefutably. It's what she does. I want you all to recognize that. Oh, also we have some of our students here that are from China as well, that are here, and so we have students obviously from America, from all over the world. So all products are wonderful, made where they all are made. I want to make that point, but it's important to also know, for areas to be self-sufficient, Mozambique has the resources, the talent, the genius to create products so they can watch their economy thrive. And this is a very interesting discussion to get into, right? You can get into geopolitics and the world economy, and why you see certain regions historically shaped the way they are. As you mentioned earlier, war in Mozambique in the 80s. So all of this ties into, my scholars, if I can make a mention again, to the filter. I'll bring it full circle in that regard. The filter is the way we perceive information. And Rukshana said something earlier, like really, really powerful in regards to, we all have our own way of seeing the world. Like we have our own voice, we have our own perspectives on things. And it's important to share those ideas, to share the different ideas. And as we saw in class early on, as Steve Jobs made the point, when he was asked by a journalist being interviewed, do you ever have arguments with people in the workplace? And Steve Jobs said, yeah, of course. And then the journalist followed up and said, well, do you win them all? And obviously Steve Jobs giggles a little bit and says, no, of course not. The best ideas have to win. And that is what Rukshana does so brilliantly. I want you all to understand that is one of the defining aspects, from my point of view, of what really, Rukshana, of what makes you stand out is your ability to see beyond any aspect of what could be in the superficial, right, going on in society, and you're able to go deeper and unite people. And there's something very special about that. And it's why, my scholars, when we do these guest lectures. We get into conversations. I've had Rukshana on for a bit longer than I would have some guest lectures. So, Rukshana, thank you so much for this. Really, and I can go another hour. I'm managing my time. I have to manage my time here. I had to, after each question, I can extrapolate to another idea. But this being business communications, this is a businesswoman who you've heard her life story a bit here. You can continue to stay connected to Rukshana Hafez-Triem. You can continue to, as she mentioned, connect with her and volunteer as well and I believe that would be Firmino Foundation volunteer work could happen, as well as perhaps women's lifestyle coaching. That's a whole nother business, and we'll talk about perhaps if there's anything that anybody could connect with you there on. But Rukshana, if I can just give you a moment and just ask you the final question, which is a general question regarding advice for all of these incredible students. What advice do you have, okay, for all of these students so that they can be one thing or find one thing on this pursuit, right, as we all are? How can they find this sense of satisfaction and happiness within the work they're doing within the business place, or in general as well?
Mhm. I think how you're gonna find that is by doing different things, and I didn't find what I did until I did different things. I spent 12 years in an early childhood, and then I spent another 8 years doing parent education, and it wasn't realized that I really love coaching. I love mentoring, and I also love to help. So the only way you're gonna find that is by trying and not putting yourself in a box and saying that I'm this way. I've always done it this way. I'm gonna challenge you to try something new, to explore some new ideas, and go volunteer that place that you thought you might not like, because of whatever you heard while you're growing up, or what you heard from your parents, or what you read, or what you study. I'm gonna challenge you because every time we go to this new place, we learn something. It's probably going to keep us alive, wake our hearts up, or maybe it's like that doesn't excite me. So, and just keep, the only way to do that is to keep trying and doing different things. So yeah, that's all I can suggest of doing. And don't put yourself in a box, and try different things as much as you can.
I think that is absolutely insightful, and I think that's how I really continue to stay, afloat in terms of finding bits of joy, is trying new things. Again, all of the aspect of what we do in our life in terms of the business world is just trying. And sometimes when we try, we realize we're good at it. And when we realize we're good at it, we realize we can go even further with this. So, what I want you all to recognize is you have it all in you to turn these things called your dreams, which I tell you at the end of every class, into your reality. I tell them at the end of every class, Rukshana, keep their heads up high, because they're the ones turning their dreams apologize, blah blah blah, into their realities. And I just want to first finalize the guest lecture and perhaps go into a question, or if anybody has any comments, we'll open the floor as well. But I want to finalize and say, Rukshana, this was a brilliant guest lecture that you brought forth. Each one of these questions were questions that I hope that these students will benefit from in their futures at 4:31 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, on March 4th, 2021. In 5 years from now, you all will be growing in so many incredible ways. And I truly hope that all of these ideas assist you along your journeys to incredible success because you deserve it, every one of you. And Rukshana, you and your family deserve all the success coming your way and that you've been having, as I've mentioned and personally as we've talked. So listen, we'll open the floor and don't feel obligated to ask questions or comments, but I want to open it up for a moment. If anybody has any anything they'd like to make a point of, or any questions or any ideas, take the microphone. It's all yours. And usually I leave about a 15-second question frame or time for responses as getting
Oh, Matt.
into.
Matt has a question.
Matt, did you have a question there?
No.
Oh, you know what it was? The microphone may have been off on your side and highlighted around your side. That's why I think we thought that there was a question
Sorry.
there. No, sorry, Matt.
If
that
you
happened.
don't,
That
if you
happened.
don't,
And again, my scholars, you've been listening for many of you who were here since 2:45 have been on with us for an hour and 40 minutes, so please understand it is absolutely okay if there's no questions or comments, though I want to also make the point that all the work that you're doing in class is the reason I felt comfortable to bring Rukshana in. Rukshana, these students, as you've heard, they're from all over the world, and they bring forth amazing ideas. And I really thought that this would be one of those powerful moments for their college experience, not only to be part of a guest lecture, but to hear from somebody as incredible as yourself. Coralia, is there a hand up there? And I apologize.
Yes, it's a hand.
Hey, Coralia, take us away.
I just want to say that to Rukshana, what you're doing is very beautiful and inspiring, and it kind of brings more light to the darkness in this world. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Coralia, thank you so much for that point you make. Uh, I do concur with you, Coralia. Rukshana brings in during times that can feel so tumultuous. She brings about a sense of hope, positivity, peace, tranquility, and inspiration. She unifies. And I've told Rukshana that she has an incredible, future. I mean, with everything she's doing, I could see her running for office one day if she ever wanted to. Goodness gracious, that's a whole lot of responsibility and a lot of things going on in that
No
world.
pressure or anything. No
Yeah,
pressure.
no pressure
anything.
there. And also, Ryan says, thank you for sharing your time with our class, Rukshana. Thank you, Ryan, for that. Thank you, Ryan. It's pretty cool, to think about. You have a lot going on in the world. So what you all think? Everybody have a nice time with the ideas shared. I think you all were digging it. I think everybody was digging. Were you digging it? I think they were digging it. I think everyone was digging it. That's a silly question because the most important thing is that you got to look some heart emojis, and I don't know if the emojis come back on the video, so I apologize. So just know, and a lot of people on the screen too on both pages, and just know who have been throughout the last hour and a half, and they may not all show up on the video recorded, but we had a great audience today. What a group here. 4 classes altogether, students that were able to come in and out. Other students have classes, so they're going to watch this guest lecture later on when I post it on up. But I think that's important for all of us to realize we're in a moment right now. Okay, we're in a moment. Okay, let me explain what that means. Okay, right now at 4:36 in the p.m. on March 4th, 2021, we have this time with each other. Right now, all of our paths are crossing. Now you got to think about that. That's magical. That's special. Because there's not too often you will be in an environment. Well, you're in the workplace, you will have people that you will work with, perhaps from all over the world. But in the college arena, especially in Menlo, as you all have already described, we are from everywhere here. And I want you to recognize the power of you. Okay, that's one of the most important aspects that you're going to take with you through the rest of your life. You know, these ideas in this moment are shared with you, and you will forever be changed, just as that quote I gave with Einstein. And as Rukshana was talking about, the more we experience, the more we change. And you will remember who we were a couple of years back, but we will always be who we are right now. And you're part of something very special, my crew. I really want you to know that. 7.8 billion people estimated on planet Earth. How many of them will ever get the opportunity to go through the college process? We are so lucky right now to have the time with Rukshana Triem, to have her wisdom imparted on us. Because Rukshana, I speak a lot of what you say to the students. I'm glad that it's reaffirmed a bit by
Are you
ideas.
woo woo?
Yeah. I'm one of those individuals that just believe. I'm a believer that we could do it. We can make this happen. And as you see, I have the sun setting right now, and I have the blinds. I'm over in Merced, over by Yosemite, as everybody would know, and as you know, Rukshana. And so to hear that, you know, the passion. What do you all think on your side of the table? Is it hard to find your passion? Or are there like so many passions? Or
I think it's harder to decide whether to follow your passion.
why? Evan, great point. Why?
I don't know. You have doubts, but I saw something, I don't know, it was a while ago, but it said like you can fail at trying to do something you don't like, so might as well fail at something you do like.
That's great. Evan, that's wonderful. I like that one a lot. Yeah, no, and that's a good point. A great point you make, Evan. You know, doubt can be something that stunts us from really maximizing our potential, from turning our dreams into our reality. If I would have stopped the first time somebody told me I couldn't do what I'm doing right now with all of you, I probably would have stopped thinking the first time I thought about going to college, when people may have told me, oh, you can't do that, whatever the deal is, right? Trust me, a lot of people, like Rukshana says, there's naysayers, and then I think you said there's yay sayers. Is that the other term of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the yay sayers, those that say you could do this, you could make this happen. And quite often those people have maximized their potential, or they have worked towards it, and they recognize that we all have this incredible ability to achieve. And like Rakshana says, you know, there's a lot of different species on Earth, but humans have the ability. And you can look at orangutans, right? They'll use a tool to maybe eat, and I think it's the cutest thing. They're fascinating. Gorillas, I'm fascinated with these creatures. They're amazing, beautiful. But the human has an incredible ability to not only subjectively understand where they are in the moment of time, but to feel what that would be like in the future. You see, that's something I'm not sure. I think that with other life, they're able to understand, you know, through habits, what they're supposed to do, and obviously through genetics. But humans have this incredible ability. And again, gorillas, orangutans, they'll understand if they're not supposed to go near certain snakes and everything like that. So all of that ties into the way they've developed. But when you can have a human who, as Rukshana made the point, started as a refugee, somebody who came out to the States in 85, it was Rukshana, or 92, and had not only accomplished certain personal things she wanted to accomplish in her life, but to create businesses and to now create schools where she once was a refugee. See, now that's something that requires everything that Rukshana just lectured on, everything about believing in yourself and realizing, quite frankly, that in this moment in time, we are so lucky to be with one another. And just imagine total communication, total openness of ideas. I would say if everybody could do that throughout the world in a positive way, we'd be in a really, really good place, right? But just here, right in the college arena, that's the collaboration that I see here at Menlo College. And that's why, Rukshana, uh, everything you've said today echoes what I've been trying to really imbue into the thought process of everybody is that, you know, whatever they're seeing up here with hard work in the business world, they have the ability to navigate through conversations. They may feel doubt, as Evan made the point, right? When to think about passion, how can we, follow this idea that I have, that you have, that we have, right? It's the belief in your vision. You have it in you, and that's why I think that I'm so inspired in these classes. Rukshana, I think you just did exactly what I had mentioned to the students would happen. You inspired our day, inspired our thought process. And I'm sorry I have the bright light glaring on me right now. I feel like I have the spotlight. I'm in the underneath the big hot lights. And listen, I want to open the floor once more and just say to everybody, any questions or ideas that you want to share with me and Rukshana and myself, before I close this out in a couple minutes. Any ideas at all regarding any questions you have maybe for your business dreams, trajectories you want to be on, or anything you heard today? I always leave about a 10-second opening for responses. So don't ever feel awkward if I leave those couple seconds.
Okay.
And as we see Rukshana, different ideas may filter into us, that may come to us. And so as initially we may not have had any questions, ideas, but then as ideas start to come on in, that's typically how it flows. And I want you all to realize that you all did exactly what you were supposed to do today. You were absorbing these ideas like the sponges that I always say that we are analogous to as college students, taking in ideas. Yes, I'm the lecturer, I'm the guide of the course. So goodness, I should be speaking a bit here and giving us guidance. For you all, you being here, you have no idea how much you inspired us today. Rukshana, what I'd like to do is if you could mention super quick, where can everybody connect to you at?
Absolutely. So you guys can reach me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, and it's the same. It's under Rukshana Hafez-Triem, or Facebook. I always respond if you guys have a question. I always respond. Human connection is very important to me. So I might not
Yes.
respond right away because I'm in Africa or in different time, but I always take the time to respond. And that's the best. And if you want quickly, email definitely is the best as well. I love interaction on social media because it's like my community, like the people that I have connected through every time I travel. So I like to put my when I'm having a hard day, I put it there because I use it as a community. I need supportive community to help me, to move on to the next level. But
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. But I
Uh,
did. I wanted to say this because it's really important as a business student, as you guys are in the business, and as you'll graduate in whatever years from now is as you're planning that idea in your business. Everybody said they're gonna say that there is already that kind of a business, but keep in mind there's only one kind of you. No one is you. Your ideas are unique. Your story, nobody's story is like yours. So please know that your story is important. And I think at the beginning of this recording, I shared this, that you have a story, and your story is part of your business. It's part of your life planning. So that idea, that business as it comes through birthing through you, everybody's going to say, oh, there's thousands of that. Well, there's only one of you.
That's
If you want
right.
to write a book, oh,
That's
there's
right.
thousands of books, so there's a thousand. Well, like, well, your story is different. It's not like any other story. So keep in mind that you are a unique being and you have a beautiful gift, and the world is waiting for your gift. And the gift can only be
Yes.
birthed through you when
Yes.
you deliver that gift to share with the world. Because if you don't deliver that gift will keep repeating in your mind over and over in the next 20, 30 years. So
Yes.
please,
Oh,
please earn your story, claim it, and have that gift and share with the world. It's not just for you, it's for everybody around you.
yeah, Rukshana, it's like I keep on going into ideas. I should end this guest lecture an hour
I'm
ago.
sorry, I just want to drop the mic right there.
Oh my
There you go.
It's done. We did it. Listen, it's true story. I mean, everything you said is uh so exactly on point. And it's why you know I want you all to realize, please take the time, connect with Rukshana if you'd like, follow her on social media. uh you will not be disappointed. As she makes the point, she connects. If anybody ever has and I always like to say this as well, Rukshana, um if anybody has a difficult time and if ever feeling a little blah, right? You could always reach out to me, obviously. Josie is here to be a positive force, as well as I think I could speak on behalf of Rukshana in that way. She's somebody I think if you reached out and she'd get back to you and give you a dose of inspiration. Uh,
And when you do share, when you do follow me on social media, you send a friend's request, just say where you're from, because I get a lot of spam people adding me. So just say, hey, wait, where are you adding me from? It always helps out in that connection. And also opens up the conversation for me to be curious. I'm a very curious being, and I'll ask questions, not to be nosy, just curious. I want to know more about you.
that's
And I
right.
ask question which
Yeah.
expands in many ways that it's going to lead into whatever you are trying to think about, whatever you're dreaming about, whatever you're planning. So it's just the way I'm very playful in an asking way, that I'm asking in a playful, in a curious way.
Yes, and Rukshana, I know how spam could be. It's like you have so many people that follow you, and you're doing so many things. Just let Rukshana know you were in the guest lecture, and you'll be taken care of. She knows, she'll know at that point. And listen, Rukshana, at a couple hours, a couple minutes after 2 hours, this is unbelievable. Listen,
We
uh,
gotta wrap this up.
yes, I know. Please let the family know. Okay, let your wonderful husband know that we thank him so much for allowing us to borrow you for these 2 hours. And I just want everybody to recognize that it's because of all of you, each and every one of you. You see all of you right there? That's why Rukshana's here. Okay? Because I absolutely believe in every one of you. And you need to understand those ideas that Rukshana brings forth, because listen, some people could say this is like magical mystery type of stuff. Oh, can I just like think about something and then make it happen? No, there's a process, hard work, belief in your vision, sleepless nights. It's all going to happen. You're going to be working hard towards it, but you're going to make it happen. And in terms of the way you communicate through that process, you will find the best version of you as you continue to upgrade, just like we upgrade these little gadgets nowadays. I remember the world we had before those gadgets, Rukshana. I remember those days. As
Yeah.
those upgrade, we upgrade ourselves, as I probably am speaking to many of you who already know these ideas. Uh, but I want you to be reminded that every one of you are valuable. Every one of you are brilliant. And Rukshana Hafez-Triem is a businesswoman that not only is an incredible power, force in that realm, but in the realm of living, in the realm of finding that thing of fulfillment, of satisfaction, of this thing they call happiness that feels like it could be elusive. But though I want you to remember and remind yourself, right now you are working so hard and you're essentially creating the rest of your future based upon all this hard work you're putting in right now to your college process. Proud of every one of you. Rukshana, I believe what we will do is bring our guest lecture to a close at 4:52 p.m. That's way over 2 hours, a couple minutes out of 2 hours, over 2 hours. And my scholars, if we could, give a formal applause, digital emoji applause to our brilliant guest lecturer today, Miss Rukshana Hafez-Triem. And as you see, Rukshana, hopefully on your side, you are getting a whole lot of emoji applause. They may not be showing up so much on the video on the response, but let it be known we have a lot of emoji applause coming out our
I
way.
feel it. I feel it. Receiving. I'm receiving it. Thank you. Receiving it. Thank
Every
you.
one of you today, I hope you enjoyed. Everybody have a good time? You enjoy? Good guest lecture? Was it worth it? Right on. Good, 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 good. Got a lot of thumbs up in the heart. Oh, very cool. Listen, so this could be a conversation that you continue with Rukshana if you choose to connect with her. And as for me, you'll continue this conversation on Tuesday when I see you all for a really cool guest, a regular lecture, not a guest lecture. This was a guest lecture, but and Monday. So I have my Monday students here also because this happened on my Tuesday, Thursday classes. So for those in my Monday class here, I'll catch you all on Monday for a wonderful lecture, bringing us into midterms. For my Tuesday, Thursdays, Tuesday, I have a wonderful lecture for all of you. That'll bring us into midterms for Thursday's presentations. Rewind this guest lecture, share with everybody you know, because this is one for the ages. Going to stop recording right now. Menlo College, 4:53 in the p.m. Pacific Standard Time, March 4th, 2021. Miss Rukshana Hafez-Triem. And this is Dr. Josiah going to stop the recording. Thank you, Rukshana. You're the best.
Thank you,
Truly
everybody.
awesome.